Ready? Hello, everybody. This is episode 40 of Shoot the Breeze, a chill interview and a chill time all around from you and me. I am your host, HeavyDivider. Alongside me here is, well, he's actually a very funny individual. Not only that, he's actually, like, this guy literally hands on life by the foot of it, especially no matter wherever he goes. And in addition to that, great friend to be around. Somebody who can definitely brighten your day no matter what. My guest for tonight is one Betadesh, but we call him Beta for short. Well, come on in, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, doing just fine, man.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. It's been a while on hand. I'm glad to be able to talk to you once again. So, let me ask you this question: how the hell did we meet?
Okay, so honestly, my memory isn't the best, so I can't recall a specific circumstance, but I know it was through me streaming.
It was actually
pretty sure like we met through me.
Yep, it was actually for streaming, but there was one specific person we met for. It was a very legendary individual in VRC 1 ad friendly that we actually met through.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
yeah, I apologize. Some of my answers may not be the best because I've always had memory issues, but I'm trying here.
No, it's okay. I will fill the blanks in for you no matter what, dude. If in any way on hand, because I can at least recall. But yeah, it was like at this Minecraft version of the Pug on hand that we actually met.
Oh, I remember that world.
And then
I wonder, is that world still around?
I think it is. I'm not sure, but I think it is. It just, if it is, it might not have been updated. I will say the second time around we actually met was through Fox God's, like his Guy Fieri world, where it was just like Guy Fieri avatars everywhere, and it was like all over the ceiling and everything.
Classic world.
Classic world on hand,
Classic
too.
world, man.
That was like almost at midnight,
Go there,
too.
you find the secret hole in the wall, and then you start throwing the seals because for whatever reason their physics are just ridiculous.
Yeah, I just remember you guys just doing that constantly on hand, and I think it was also too where I don't know what Fox was doing at that time, but he was like doing something to where he was just. I think he was showing off like a new Guy Fieri avatar or so. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember what it was. It might have been All Might or Link. I'm not sure. But yeah, that was a fun time on hand for it too. Those craziness. But yeah. But overall, that's how we met on hand. And past that or so, we actually bumped each other maybe a few times here and there. Because anywhere you go, I can't really go to for the most part. Since I'm not really the social type with like parties in general. But I'm glad to be able to see you whenever I get a chance, even if I'm busy with my own things. But, yeah, it's the Gray Pig. Okay, so that's what it was. It was the Gray Pig. But, that map that we're thinking. But yeah, let me ask about your VRChat origins on hand. What got you into this game?
Okay, so this is a story I love talking about, actually, because everyone has this story of how they get into VRChat, and when you ask most people, like 99% of people are going to tell you, I saw a YouTuber or a streamer that made me get into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I saw Jameski, I saw Nags, I saw whoever play VRChat, and then I wanted to try it out, and that's how they get into it, right? So, I used to play this game called Tower Unite. Some people may know it. It's out there, you know.
It's familiar.
And on Tower Unite, it used to be like a Gmod game mode, and then they just made it into its own game.
Okay.
It started from Gmod Tower, and then they just took it and made Tower Unite its own like game that you can get on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
But in Tower Unite, you can save up money by playing like mini games and stuff, and buy condos, and then buy decorations for those condos, and you know, just make your place. For some reason, the devs of that game had the wonderful idea to make picture frames an item that you can get in the game, that you could actually put an image URL onto, like an image link onto, and it would display that image.
Mm-hmm.
They also did that with body pillows, funnily enough. That was great. But so me being a rather immature 17, 18-year-old at the time, I think I was just turning 18. I took a big condo that I bought and put an entire hentai gallery into the basement of it.
Oh boy.
And I had some random guy visiting my condo, and I was showing him this gallery, and after walking around looking through the whole thing, he just turned to me and went, you know, there's this game called VRChat, you'd probably really like it. And I just went, I don't have VR, man. And he's like, oh no, there's a way to play it on desktop mode. It's this weird like backdoor method. I'll show you how to do it, because this is before they had like you know, just a desktop launcher through Steam. So you had to like actually go to like the exe file and do like a weird thing to set it to desktop mode. And so I played around in VRChat with him for a bit. He showed me around. He's like, by the way, there's this really weird Knuckles meme in the game. Just ignore that. He showed me some avatar worlds and stuff, and then I saw someone take out a gun on their avatar, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. How'd they do that? And he's like, oh, it's like on certain avatars you can do that. You know, like if they make the avatar to do that. And I'm like, that's cool. I want to do that. And I turned it into the avatar because is, you know, public avatar world, and I was like, what, how do I do it? He's like, oh, you have to be in VR to do that. This is before they had desktop gestures in VRChat. And I was like, damn, that sucks. And 2 weeks later I bought an Oculus.
Oh, well, there you go. Immediately offhand, got yourself an Oculus, and then it kind of leads you down the road to like different other varieties of things here. Question I want to know is, from the way it was described on it, sounds like that was like almost, what was it, early July of 2017 you joined or so? Or was it like, because I do remember at that time.
I think I joined early 2018.
2018, okay. Okay, I got you. Because the way it was described, like backdoor method and everything, I was gonna say, because easily enough is like whenever I loaded like VRChatter thing on hand, it gave me the option of like, you know, desktop, and then there was like a version for Steam streaming, like not stream, but a base Steam VR, but yeah, and so yeah, I almost assumed.
Yeah, they used to not have that. It's wild. You had to like go into your computer files, go to the actual VRchat.exe file in your like file manager, and it was something like you had to hold shift while clicking on it, and it would bring up this like little launcher window. And you can actually still do this, I believe. Like you can like go there to like set your resolution and stuff if you want to, or even rebind controls. A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, you'd go there and you'd be able to set the game to launch for desktop mode through that.
Okay, I do remember that launcher actually. I think I've used it just to set this whole thing to desktop below at one point for VR. Yeah. But let me ask you about your hobbies on hand besides this game. Now, I know you were really big into voice acting, and
yes.
And besides that or so, I don't know if you play like any other different multiplayer games. I know VR is probably just one whole big thing on hand, but what other hobbies do you have on hand besides just this game in general?
Well, as you mentioned, yeah, I'm really into voice acting. I'm hoping to get a job in that at some point. That would be really cool for me. Other hobbies, other types of games I like. Honestly, I can get pretty picky about games that I get into, and typically I don't like most competitive games with a few exceptions. I have been playing Apex Legends a lot again since a lot of my friends got it. But I really like open world survival craft games. I used to play a lot of Rust, Conan Exiles, stuff like that. And in general, I like role-playing. If I can find a platform that I can viably roleplay on, I'll do it. So I've done roleplays through Rust, through Conan Exiles. I used to roleplay in Gary's Mod. I was around in Gary's Mod roleplay back when Dark RP had just started, and it was actually considered a roleplay game mode. Like, people actually roleplayed in it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Before it became a bunch of memes and little kids running around screaming RDM and admin abuse, you know?
Hitler.
I actually owned some servers on Gmod for a while, and a couple on Conan Exiles and one on Rust, that I hosted for RP stuff too. So that was fun. I also do some tabletop RP with some friends outside of VRChat, stuff on Roll20. I haven't done D&D, but I've done Shadowrun Anarchy, and I actually have some interest in creating my own tabletop systems, so I'm currently writing one right now.
Okay, I got you.
I do like writing, story crafting, all that kind of stuff.
I will say, out of my only little experience of D&D on hand, I would say you probably enjoy that, especially with a group of friends, just because of the fact that, you know, anything can go, and it would just basically lead to something quite funny on hand, especially if you accidentally derail the DM on hand. So, it'd be interesting.
I did that one time in Shadowrun Anarchy. Our DM was sending us off to do some sort of job. Shadowrun Anarchy is kind of like a cyberpunk world setting with like magic fantasy elements mixed in. So imagine like cyberpunk time of our world, but there's also like elves and orcs and trolls and dwarves, stuff like that around.
Okay, gotcha.
It's kind of interesting, but so we had this mission where we were like, I think we were supposed to invade like some police station and get some files from the police chief there or whatever. And my character at the time, with your characters, you have to choose qualities. So what we do is you do 2 positive qualities and 1 negative quality. So, you know, your positives are something that give you a boost in certain situations, some sort of buff, and your negatives are things that you have to roleplay out that can be detrimental. My negative quality for the character I was playing is that he is a lifelong thief, and he will absolutely go out of his way to steal anything that is of value, like even if it puts the mission at detriment. You know, he's like got an addiction to stealing stuff. And our DM had told us that on the local news there was this very, very expensive gem being moved to a museum in the area before we got the mission to go to this police station. So my character, being this suave, charismatic guy, as we're sitting down at this like diner discussing our plan for the like getting into the place, my character just goes, so you know, this is probably gonna cost a lot, and it would be nice to have some funds to cover us. And I derailed the whole session and made it about going into the museum to steal this gem. Our DM just had to like on the fly create this whole separate mission because everyone agreed. They were all like, yeah, let's go steal that gem.
Oh boy. Able to be charismatic enough just to be able to push everybody in that direction is a really good talent on hand, especially when it's just a trait and you're playing your character at its part on hand too. I could have sworn.
Yeah, no, I love playing characters. I love making world lore. Stuff like that's great for me. I'm really into the Elder Scrolls series because of its world lore. I think that's super interesting.
I've been like through some of the Elder Scrolls lore, especially like Oblivion, some of the Skyrim, and I played a little bit of online once before. So I haven't actually looked at Morrowind, but I need to. But yeah, it's got great lore on hand.
Morrowind is hard to play.
It is.
It's hard to play now because it's a very dated game, but the lore of it is super cool if you're really that dedicated to it.
Dedicated on hand to see it through. So, but let me ask your honest opinion about the VRChat scene. Now, in this current present and in this current time we are in right now, what do you think about VRChat at this moment? Because everybody's gonna have an opinion about it.
There's positive and negative here. I'm gonna start with the positive part first here. VRChat at this time is at a higher regular player count than it really has been ever before, and that is very much in part due to the pandemic situations. More people are finding the ability to come on to VRChat and other platforms like it to socialize, but I think VRChat has seen the most success with it by far. If you like really sit down and look at the numbers of it all, and that's really cool. I think, you know, there's a lot of new people in the scene, with the popularity booming of VTubers as well. You have like a whole new group of, you know, streamers and stuff coming into that side of VR. You know, a lot of popular role plays that get streamed have been happening lately, so, you know, I think that's all really cool. Now, as for the negative side, I think that the community of VRChat can be rather toxic. I actually just made a tweet about this like earlier before getting on here, but I keep seeing stuff on Twitter where people are complaining about VRChat, harassing the devs, even starting a hashtag that's hashtag ban VRChat, and I'm like, God, that is ridiculous. Like, this game has given me both amazing friends that I can't imagine my life without, but also shown me one of the most toxic sides of a community I've seen in a long time, you know?
No, I got
And I think that's unfortunate. I think a lot of people take VR chat way too seriously. I see it getting compared to AAA game companies. I see people who don't know all the information or how things actually work and still try to talk like they do, which is also ridiculous. I've had one-on-one situations with someone before where they believed that VRChat doesn't have a CEO. They genuinely believed that, and that's just ridiculous, you know?
I got you.
So I think right now, like, overall, VRChat is cool. It has its problems. It's not perfect. The devs aren't perfect in how they handle things, but I think that the community's negative mindset is something that really needs to be addressed and fixed right now, more than anything.
I mean, it's one of those things, too, where, as I kind of look at that, and from your perspective on hand, it's kind of one of those things where basically they can only see one side of things because they can't really see on the development side or the what's going on behind the scenes for the most part.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about the logistics of running something like this. A lot of people still think that the VRChat devs are all volunteers. No, they're employees. They're getting paid by a CEO. You know, like, there's a lot more expenses that go into VRChat than people would think. You know, server costs and stuff like that are a lot more than what people think. And yes, I know the servers aren't perfect, especially lately, but that's also kind of in part due to the fact that VRChat has seen such a big boom in player population suddenly because of current world events. These servers weren't really meant to handle this many people, and right now they're trying to figure out how to switch over to new ones.
Yeah. And, well, here's the thing, too, which I will say, everybody's got options on their hands, like, you know, and that's the thing, we at least everybody's got an option on hand. It may not be the greatest options on hand, but at least you can go somewhere, whatever you please, or so. It's just one of those things where development of whatever it is on hand or so, or no matter what it is, it's a slow process, which especially for a small team on hand, too. So...
Yeah, I think, like, you know, a lot of people like to bring up comparisons of alternatives like Chill Out VR and Neos and whatnot, and they'll praise those platforms, but they keep playing VRChat while complaining about VRChat, and that seems like a bit of a contradiction to me, you know? It's like...
No, I got you. No, I feel you on hand. Especially when just compared with so much on hand for the most part. But, let me ask you about this on hand. Now, understand, in your time or so, like you said, I mentioned you've gone to, like, and before this, I mentioned, like, you've gone to places I've never been to before, but I would like to take your perspective on hand. Let me talk about the party scene on hand. Now, when I mean, like, party scene, I mean, like, you've probably seen, like, a lot of interesting things happen, like, different groups on hand. From the previously performed of, like, Neko Nights to, like, basically some people have, like, their own little parties, so, including, like, you know, the Vixen, basically with Foxy's thing or so here and there. But I was gonna say, from a different perspective on hand when it comes to it or so, what is your whole feel about it for the most part? Because I'm pretty sure everybody's got their own, like, little cliques here and there, as well as just, like, how they kind of do things here and there, so.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of different cliques. You know, overall, I think the party scene is fun. You know, if you're the type of person who's into that and wants to be more social, you know, getting into, you know, different parties, getting on, drinking, especially, again, bringing up world events right now during this time, having a platform where you can go and basically talk to people as if they're right next to you and drink and have fun like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm extremely grateful for that. I'm extremely lucky, you know, to have that kind of thing. There are a lot of people in this world who can't even imagine what we're doing right now being a thing in their lives, and so, you know, I'm very grateful for that. The parties that, so a lot of people go to, like, certain parties and stay at that party. I tend to be someone who jumps around a lot, because I don't get on as often as I used to, so when I am on, I like to try and see as many people as I can. But there are, certain parties that I know for a fact happen every Friday night, and those are the ones that, like, I know I will be at for sure. It used, like I said, it used to be like Neko nights. I would go there a lot, and those were always fun. Since those have now disbanded, there's the cabin night parties hosted by Landfear. And I'll go there. A lot of people. It kind of depends what kind of crowd you want to be around.
Yeah.
So you go to, like, the cabin night one, and you're gonna see a lot of people who are, streamers, YouTubers, VTubers. You'll see a lot of people from the RP community there now too, because Landfear's recently gotten into Callous Row, Arcadum's RP.
Okay.
So a lot of people from that RP, basically she starts that party right after that RP gets out, so a lot of those people carry over in there. So if you want to go talk to those kind of people and drink with them and have fun, that's your place for it. Definitely, you have to obviously, meet Landfear and get her added.
Yeah.
Because if these things were left as like a friends plus,
Yeah.
just get in here kind of party, that world would just die.
Just overflow with people they don't know.
So you got those. Recently, because she is doing Callous Row, her parties start later now than they used to. So, my friend Chinook, or as some people say, his name's Cyanak, he started hosting his own parties at another, like, fun little club world that a lot of people have been going to. It has, like, a little spin the bottle drinking game kind of thing there, pool tables, So a lot of people go there, and those are fun. Those are, like, the more I'm just around a lot of friends chilling kind of party. We're all drinking, having a good time. Same kind of vibe goes on with folks' parties at the Vixen. In his worlds, those are just a very, like, with a bunch of friends vibing, doing silly things kind of party. And then sometimes you'll find, like, the mini parties, as I like refer to them as, where it's like not as many people, but it's still definitely a party vibe. Sometimes I'll join on Oathmeal while she's streaming and drinking on Friday nights and be in those worlds, and it's not as big as some of these other events, but it's kind of nicer to, like, go somewhere where it's a little more calm and a little more close-knit too.
Yeah, especially yeah, I was gonna say, especially when basically you can at least hear the person you're talking to when nobody's talking over you, at least, when there's like a bunch of people. So, but yeah, I mean, hey, it's good. At least you can basically bounce back here and there and just kind of like see what you can work with, as well as just like meet everybody. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've met more friends lately just drinking and hopping from party to party than I have in a long time, and that's been really cool. Though it is kind of funny, having the situations where I'll go drink, hop around, meet a bunch of new people, and then I'll get on later and see these people again and be like, where did we meet? And they're like, I don't know, we were probably drinking.
Nope. Good God. Drinking somewhere, we just can't quite remember where. It's just like key people stick out. So
yeah,
but yeah.
No, it's been great. I'm meeting a lot of new people like that, and I think oddly enough, I've met more streamers since I stopped streaming. Like, going to those parties and stuff. Like, after I stopped streaming myself, I've met more streamers doing that, which is kind of weird.
I think, and I could tell you why, this is just me speculating, but I think it's based on the fact, too, that when you have enough free time on your hands to go and meet everybody and see everybody, sometimes you'll be able to catch, like, certain streamers just, like, being away from their communities just so they can go and try to socialize a little bit more, also, like, meet people they never got a chance to meet. In addition to that, or so, just be able to try to relax as best as they can, because, let's understand, carrying a community is a hard thing. Especially when you want to, especially when it's like with your closest friends you have with you, and just be able to try to run something together on hand. Like, it's really hard, and I can't stress that enough. Especially when you're trying to balance a lot of things out, including like IRL or like a stream schedule or everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
so but when you don't have that on your shoulders and everything, and you're able to see how everybody else is or so, that's when you feel more relaxed and just be able to not feel too pressured into anything on hand. So, but I can assure you, but yeah, I can assure you for the most part, no matter, and hey, keep in mind, even if you're a streamer or not a streamer on hand, I will say it's the person's personality that counts the most. Like literally, like when I understand Beta, even if you didn't stream anymore for the most part, I still look at you as Betadesh, the person and the friend that I've known for the longest time or so. Even if we haven't talked a lot on hand, I still remember. I value you as a person. I value you as a person.
Yeah, and that's the kind of like stuff I appreciate. You know, like stopping streaming was kind of sad because I realized how many people that I was hanging around that didn't really care about me outside of, you know, content, you know. But then that also opened my eyes to, you know, the people who were more important in my life and did care about me. So, you know, I think, you know, at the end of the day, it was a good thing for me.
Yeah, which is good.
Not to say that other people should stop streaming. It just didn't work for me. I was just overworked and very stressed. You know, if other people can make that work for them and they're having fun, go for it.
It's based on the person of where they want to go in life. So, but let me ask you now. I also know for a fact that you mentioned about RPs and everything. I know you've also been part of like any RP scene on VRC at one point or so. And I remember this on hand because I remember Curry had like this kind of his own version of the Adventure RP or something at one point. Not the current one right now, but there's like long before that or so. And I know you were part of that. I know you were part of the. You were also part of the. What the heck? I keep mispronouncing its name. Menagerie Academy. That's what it was. And. Yeah. And a few others.
Curry's RP, the one that I was in for a very short period of time was his Vengeance RP, which was sort of like John Wick the RP. But I had to leave that one just due to time constraints, unfortunately, at the time. And then I had done like small side ones when he was doing just improv stuff too. With Curry. I love doing stuff with Curry like that. He's always really funny, great to be around, really good at his improv. And yeah, Menagerie, I started off as just a player in, and eventually I worked my way onto the staff team of it. And I had been staffed with it through 3 seasons of the RP before I stepped down. For personal reasons, but yeah, no, I've had a lot of fun through the RP scene on VRChat. It's a different kind of RP that you really can't get anywhere else because it's just a level of immersion that no other platform can really give you. You know, you are your character. You're moving as your character. You're talking as your character. Like every little mannerism you have translates to your character. And I have ups and downs with VRChat RP. There are things I love about it, things I dislike about it. And, you know, I think you'll get that in any scene, really. There's never going to be something perfect. But, you know, the times that you do get into RP and it's a really good day, or you find an RP that's really solidly ran, and doesn't have many issues with like drama or anything like that, you know, that's just great. It's, you know, it's what you live for with that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because that's the key. That's like one of those weird golden rules with RP, where basically whatever happens outside of an RP stays outside of an RP. And sometimes people will probably take that motivation of whatever happens outside an RP and turn it into some sort of interesting chemistry with whoever it is inside of an RP or so.
Yeah,
kind of like fuel it.
I have unfortunately seen times where people have taken drama they had with someone out of RP and started suddenly changing how their character acts towards that person's character, and you know, it's like just leave that out. It's immature. It's not how you handle those situations, you know. Yeah, the RP scene overall, though, like I said before, it's, really big right now with, like, Callous Row, Ascension, Aegis, Purple Lotus, a bunch of different RPs, Fractured Thrones, Adventure RP,
Mhm.
a lot of different things running at once, that are all really fun, though. If I had to say one thing that I would like to see in the VRChat RP scene is that I think too many RPs right now go for either fantasy or like cyberpunk sci-fi kind of settings or a blend of both. And I think that's it's getting a little boring now because everything just feels the same when you keep doing that. And so I'd really love to see RPs that come up that start to really explore different types of universes. Like, I don't think we've really seen a solid military-based RP done in VRChat, or maybe something from just a different time period in history. Like, why not do a Western RP? Get a bunch of cowboys together,
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember Kazuki did like I think it was like a World War I or World War, kind of like a Gulf War kind of like RP, where at one point, like I remember Depresso and a few others were like dressed up as soldiers for this thing. I don't know what happened to it, but I assume
Yeah,
it might went on a hiatus for the most part. And overall,
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I think that would be really cool, to see different types of RPs come up because, like, outside of the really combat heavy RPs, which are usually your fantasy or cyberpunk sci-fi ones, you also get more chill RPs that some people do, things like school RPs are a big one. Everyone has a school RP that they've done at some point if they're in the RP scene in VRChat. Whether it be an academy, university, high school, whatever.
Yeah, that's.
I've also, early on in VRChat, I saw a few Mafia RPs, and those were kind of fun.
Oh, it was like back then there was like the Leonhardt RP that was kind of like this mafia base at one point. There was also, like, when you mentioned school, like that was a trend in and of itself, like early, like 2019 all the way through. So because everybody wanted to be in like
Yeah.
a school RP. Like I remember it was like that was when the whole.
Everyone had a school. Everyone had a school.
I know because it was my first RP being in a VR high, so on hand.
Yeah.
But let me go ahead and ask you about your old VRC memories on hand. Now, when I mean like old VRC memories, I'm like, if you think about like anything in this game in general, there might be like something that funny pops in your head that you could just always go back to, like memory-wise, or like something that basically just stands out to you, like anytime when you think about this game, or like groups of friends in general on hand, it just kind of like pops to your mind. So, what would that possibly be on hand?
I mean, if we're going like old, then like, I mean, when I first got into VRChat, I remember there was this group that I got into that we all like got into this same like little lolly avatar, and I forget what we called ourselves, but we were basically like a lolly army clone, if anyone remembers that group.
Was
We
it?
were like another like that.
I don't know if it's a keyword on hand, but I was gonna say it's not like a. I feel like it wasn't like a Kana gang kind of thing. Or something. No, not that. Not that. I know it's not that, but I was gonna say kind of like when you say lolly or anything, that immediately my brain was like thinking, wait.
Dude, people, man, if you know that whole situation,
Oh,
just
I know.
hearing him bring up that name, yeah.
I know that
That's
situation.
Great, no. Yeah, no, it wasn't like that, but basically all we did was we would get in the same avatar every day, which back then you couldn't save avatars or favorite them, so we'd have to, log on, go into this world, get the avatar, like every time we like got together, and then all we would do in this world, in this avatar world, is just sit on a rock looking down at the spawn. There'd be like 40, 50 of us just looking down at the spawn like vultures, just trying to get new people to join us.
Good God. Oh God.
See, that was weird. There was there was a few groups I joined that unfortunately I got in some drama with, and there was actually a period of time where I quit VRChat for like 4 months because of it. I deleted Unity, Blender, everything. I was like, I'm never coming back, I'm done. And I got really lonely, and so I came back again, and For a little bit of time, I was a mute during that period, actually. And then I realized how many people thought I was a girl, and I was like, man, that's funny, but, like, I probably should start talking now.
Yeah, you should see that perspective on hand when it comes to people who are, like, mute, not even saying anything on hand based on what your avatar is. You know, they would automatically think you're, like, female or, like... Or it's just based on how it looks for the most part, which I find interesting because...
Yeah, no,
you don't know until they speak.
You know, like, yeah. Or, you know, like, a lot of times if I find someone who's mute, I'll just ask them, you know, be like, do you prefer I refer to you as a he, she, like what? You know, he, she, they, what, you know, I'll just ask them at this point, but...
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I think there's no use getting mad over people, like, misgendering you when you're mute. It's going to happen, you know, not everyone's used to that kind of thing, like... And so... You know, I think it's like a choose your battles kind of thing, you know, just brush it off and keep going. It doesn't, you know, in the long run, it's not going to hurt you that someone thought you were a girl or a guy while you were mute or something, you know?
No, I feel you. Which is a good thing on hand just to, like, ask, because you never know. But at the same time, it's also based on if they're going to speak to you, like nowadays, like, sign language-wise, or just kind of, like, pen-wise or so, because back then it was, like, always pen or so, especially in the presentation room.
That's wild, actually. So I was talking to my dad about that, and that's wild. There are people in VR who host classes to teach people sign language, but there's, like, a whole VR variant of sign language now for people who don't have, like, you know, index and can't move their fingers, like, individually and such. There's a whole VR variant of sign language just for mutes and stuff, and that's wild that, like, people in this community just, like, the fact that, like, there's classes for anything, like, I'm in a server on Discord right now of people who host classes to learn Japanese in VR, because I'm trying to learn Japanese myself right now. And, you know, the fact that there's classes like that, there's exercise groups, classes like that, yoga classes, like, all this kind of stuff, just in this little community that people just decided one day, hey, let's do that. That's crazy. That's, like, go back to, like, 2010, 2008, 2010, you're sitting at home playing Call of Duty on your PS3, Xbox, or whatever, right? I don't even know if I'm getting those years right, but, like, and just think about that. Could you ever have imagined back then that by 2019, 2020, 2021, people would be holding language courses in a VR platform like this?
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to see. It's amazing to see on hand just for the fact that, in a way, it helps broader a bigger communication on hand for those who can't speak or so. Which is nice, because, like, for those who can't say anything to those who can't hear anything, like, it helps out tremendously on hand. Which, funny enough or so, I would not be surprised if there is going to be, like, a newfound way for those... Like, I don't know if anybody who would be, like, temporarily blind or just have a hard time seeing be able to play VRC, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a way to help those people out, too. That way they can experience everything, hear everything, just be able to talk to people, even if they can't.
I mean, I've not ruled anything out at this point because I've just consistently watched this community do crazy things from, I mean, before mutes pretty much could only communicate through gestures or whatever, and then people figured out how to make avatars where you could draw with your finger and write things, and then even furthermore, people have figured out avatars where you have a straight up keyboard on it and you can type things out to people. And and now, like, furthering that, now we have people teaching other people sign language in VR and stuff. It's crazy.
Definitely. Definitely on hand. Like, and it's gonna grow over time, like, I assure you on hand it'll grow over time, where it'll develop much more, where people will just get all the help, any help they need on hand, just to be able to try to form a better bond and a social, kind of more social skills on hand. So I could see it.
Yeah.
But
like, just the amount of different kind of people you meet too is crazy. Like, I know someone who plays VRChat and they're in a wheelchair in real life. Like, it doesn't stop people.
No, it doesn't. And that's what bonds it together, strengthens people. to be able to like push past their struggles, their disabilities, to be able to go the distance, which is really great,
Yeah.
really great on him. So, let me ask you about the current, the not VRChat's current present in the sense of like updates and everything. Now, when I say current presence, I mean like compared to your first day in VRC, all the way to where we are now. What are some of the things you're glad that they changed up over time compared to some of the things you wish they didn't touch at all?
Oh yeah, okay. So, you know, I love that they put the cameras into the game. That makes it a lot easier for people to take nice screenshots and do stream stuff like this. Though I will say for sure, you can, if you've been around before the camera update versus after it, you can see a clear line of when VRChat had like no lag issues, no lag issues, no lag issues, camera update, lag issues. Like you can just see that clear line hit. For sure, but you know, the cameras are extremely useful for streaming, for just taking pictures with friends, you know. Because before the only way we could take pictures was doing it through the actual Steam VR method, and you'd be stuck with, you know, your box image, your Instagram resolution image, you know.
I do remember there was like at one point where someone actually created like an item that you can attach to your own avatar, where basically it had a camera feature where you could just trigger it and basically be able to move it around or so, and just have it like appear like as a transparent screen or so before the whole VRC created their own version of it or so. I actually remember that. I don't know who created it, but I know a few people have used it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely like one of the like cool changes to see implemented. Obviously, I was around to see the implementation of the avatar ranking and the trust system, which at first I was not very happy about. I thought it was pretty unnecessary, and you know, all that. And you know, nowadays it's like whatever, it's just kind of part of the game. And you know, I've just grown used to it. It doesn't really bother me. More recent times, you know, we've seen, you know, Avatar 3.0 and Udon finally release, and seen some crazy stuff that people can do with their avatars and worlds now using that. It's especially I see Udon avatars, 3.0 avatars getting used a lot for roleplay stuff now, because there's so many extra triggers and stuff that you can do. You know, my friend Oblivious, who does, you know, Purple Lotus, Aegis, she's in Callous Row and Ascension 2, I believe. She's really good with avatars, and she's done like whole systems for people pulling out guns that will actually fire a set amount of bullets, recognize when the gun is empty, make the trigger click if you try to fire anymore, and have a full system for reloading.
I know about
just
them.
because Udon lets that, you know, work now.
Yeah, I heard about them. They're really talented, especially like in the sense of like RP telling story wise and just like avatar optimization too.
Yeah. She's a great role player, great at avatar work, great at storytelling. The only thing I'd say she's really bad at is getting fucking sleep.
Good lord.
Like, she's always working. I'm like, calm down, give yourself a break.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because here's the thing I want you, I'm pretty sure you know, is like when you're determined to do a lot of things and basically see that mountain you want to be on top of or so, especially wherever it is or so, you want to basically work as hard as you possibly can, because you don't want to waste a single minute, second, or an hour for it. Like,
yeah, no, for sure. But like at the same time, overworking, you know, in my experience, can be a bad thing. Is you know what I did with streaming.
health-wise.
You know, I overworked myself doing that, and that's why I had to, you know, step back from it mostly. As far as like other updates go, you know, the recent changes to, you know, our nameplates and, you know, having the icons that you can put up now. You know, you can have a profile picture on your nameplate. You have the, you know, VRChat Plus, the premium subscription now, which has seen both love and hate from a lot of sides. I think it's kind of stupid to hate on it. It's an optional thing. I don't know why people complain so much. If you think it's not worth it, just don't buy it. But it was created in response to people asking just how they could donate to support VRChat because they wanted to. They weren't even asking for a premium feature thing or anything like that. I think VRChat Plus is also very worth it if you're in the RP scene, because having so many extra slots for favoriting avatars like that is really helpful for the people who do NPC work, where we need to switch between the avatars on a dime like that to keep the scene going and flowing. I've done NPC work for... I did a NPC work for Ascension recently, and oh my god, that was like... So you have like the DM of the game, the person kind of running that session, they're like, you're in a Discord call, and they're in your ear basically telling you in real time, like directing you, like, okay, you've been hit by this person, you're dead now. And so like you're just like, okay, die, wait for the people, wait to be out of their view, respawn, change avatar, go teleport to the next area, get set up to be another NPC that gets killed again. You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I remember Brim used to do that, where it was basically like, there was a thing called Journey to the Void, which is basically Lord Depresso's arc or so. And I do remember doing like NPC work for that or so, where basically we had to be in a call. Brim was basically giving us directions on what we had to do here. So like small kind of like gestures on hand, just to peek it here and there or so. Like, it's interesting directing on hand. It's just one of those things where it's like, you know, you kind of look at it and wondering how stressful can that be, where basically you got to be like to the T on like certain points here and there.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be that bad,
like,
but
it's very physically demanding, because like you're just in and out constantly. You're being told real time what you're doing, what you may, like what you're supposed to say, like all that. And especially if you're doing what I was doing, where you're playing NPCs that are dying a lot. I have a hardwood floor here. I don't know if you can hear that.
I heard it.
You know, I'm playing NPCs that are dying a lot, which means I'm falling onto a hardwood floor constantly. I was so sore after that session. Like, shout out to the NPCs out there in the RP scene. Like, you guys put in some fucking work.
A lot of work entirely. But I will ask, anything you're looking forward towards to whatever VRChat's going to be implementing later on? Because I haven't been looking at the roadmap that people have been asking on hand, because last thing they implemented on hand was the whole notification thing, where basically you get the bell and, you know, and everything, which, it works.
Yeah, no, that is nice, actually, because, like, your notifications stay for much longer than they used to now, so if you get an invite from someone, you don't really have to worry about it disappearing within a few minutes, you know? So that's really nice. Things that I'm excited for, I'm sure that VRChat is going to be looking into ways to implement the, you know, Vive eye tracking and face tracking stuff that has just come out recently. So that's going to be interesting to see what gets done with that, how that works. I've also been, you know, told that they are looking into getting a system together where you can, you know, globally interact with other people's like dynamic bones, and possibly don't take this as like a for sure thing, but they may be possibly just working on like avatar to avatar collision in general. So like, let's say we're in like an RP scene and we're in a fight, if I throw a punch at you, instead of a situation where my hand just kind of clips through your face, we can possibly set up a thing where it actually stops at your face.
Okay, so basically it would just kind of like feel like there's something there, which honestly, I feel like the way it could implement where it could just do that is if someone goes for a swing and like touches your face, so there's got to be like a small vibration in the controller to indicate you hit something. That would actually work.
Like what I was thinking, you know, this is all speculation at this point on my part, but like it would be cool if they could do a thing that like, or like rather players could do a thing where they take that collision as a trigger in like Udon or something maybe, and it spawns like a little box that goes over the person's face with like a screen space shader that does like a little screen shake, so you know you just got hit.
Kind of like a Call of Duty red outline or so around it, or like this. Then
yeah, like something
hit.
like that, or a little screen shake or whatever, you know.
Yeah, okay, that would work.
That would things like that. You know, that would be really cool.
That'd be interesting to see on hand, just to see how that turns out. Like I could just imagine it, especially like RP wise or so. But
yeah.
I do have, let me see here, just to make sure. Yep, I do have that one curveball I always ask people on hand, and usually people are into it. Some people, not too much. But knowing you, you're probably gonna give me a whole lot. You're probably gonna have a lot to talk about with this one. Let's talk anime.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, anything specific?
Three-part question to this. First, when I say anime, what's the first series that comes to your mind?
Right now, Jujutsu Kaisen, because I just binge watched it with a few friends, and it is quickly becoming my favorite shonen action right now.
Gotcha. I need to look into that.
So it just ended its first season recently, and don't worry, I won't be talking about any spoilers or anything like that. I'm better than that.
No, you're good.
But Jujutsu Kaisen had the strongest ending episode for a season that I've seen out of any anime, and I kind of like to describe it as a better Demon Slayer to people, which I'm sorry, anime fans out there, I really don't like Demon Slayer. I'm gonna get crucified, but I don't like Demon Slayer.
Hey, everybody's got their own opinion, especially depending on what you want to watch, so it's all good. It's all good on hand, so... So
right now when you say anime, that's definitely the first thing that comes to mind. There's obviously plenty more shows I've seen than that, but...
Well, the second question might be a little bit hard for you. That being, if you had, what would be like if you ever had a top 3, top 5, what would be the best what would be your favorite series on hand? In that category.
Top 3, let's see. So I can't give this in any specific order because it's very hard to choose a specific order, but Anohana would definitely be in my top 3. That show made me feel things that I can't say many other shows do. I cried like a bitch. I absolutely loved Code Geass. I really loved big, intricate Machiavellian kind of revenge schemes like that. Stuff like that's really fun. I think that I'd have to say that, there's so many, amazing anime I've seen, but I can't, justify not putting Assassination Classroom in my top 3. Because Assassination Classroom just has such a good blend of almost everything I like. It has its tension and action and really good animation. It has very interesting and colorful characters who all feel very unique. It's got really good comedy and a really nice overarching story. So, I think Assassination Classroom genuinely is a show that kind of helps people learn to be a better person as well. So.
No, I got you. I've heard about it on hand, and that's one of the other things I need to sit down and watch too. There's a bunch of stuff that you need to sit down and just be able to have time and watch. But yeah, Assassination Class I've heard on hand is a really good one on hand. And
very good.
My final question to this, and I feel like you might have already answered this, but I'm going to say, what is the anime that hit you close to home? You feel it when you watch it.
There's a lot of anime that have done that for me. I tend to watch a lot of anime that give me those kind of feels, so I could list a few, if that's okay?
That's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Alright, so obviously, as I said before, Anohana, especially, with certain things in my personal life, I really ended up relating to the main character, and his father in the story. I think Mob Psycho 100 is another one too, that hit pretty close to home. That's, at its core, despite being action, comedy, it definitely is about, just an awkward kid growing up and learning to deal with his emotions and stuff, so. That's definitely up there. Violet Evergarden as well. Violet Evergarden was the first anime that I convinced my mom to sit down and watch with me, and she absolutely loved it, and so that's always going to have a special place for me.
Violet Evergarden I heard a lot of tremendous things about on hand. Especially just the feel factor to it, on what it hits you with, no matter what. So
I think anime has, this is gonna sound like maybe a little cringy to some people, but anime in general has helped me open up emotionally in recent years, and it kind of helped me learn to feel, and that it's okay to feel. A lot of people growing up kind of get this idea that, you know, it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to, you know, feel sad or certain things like that, and that's really not the case. You know, learning to be vulnerable is probably one of the most rewarding things ever, and a lot of anime helped me learn that.
yeah, no,
You know, I used to never cry at sad parts in a show or anything like that, and now I just let myself do it, and, you know, it's okay.
no,
It, you know, it literally helps your brain, like, kind of reset and de-stress.
no, I feel you. I mean, it's one of those things where, too, like, we still weigh a lot of emotion on hand just because we're just trying to, like, get through life as best we can. Some of it we don't open up to. We don't even open up to some of our closest friends. Some of it we do. It's just a matter of how much it overflows before you be able to talk about it.
Yeah, and I don't think you even have to open up to it about people, but, you know, like, just, it's okay to feel. It's okay to cry. You know, we have this is kind of getting a little deep now, but I had a teacher in high school who basically held a class about growing up and becoming an adult and stuff, and it was a very philosophical class, and one of the things, you know, that we were taught was that, you know, we have emotions for a reason. They're not something that you're necessarily supposed to fight against. They really help our brains process stress and, you know, reset and get to a better place. You know, and so the way he always described it is that our emotions are like waves at the beach. If you walk into the water and you try to face a wave head on, it's just going to smack into you really hard and knock you over. But instead, if you're in that water and you see that wave coming, you turn around and you dive forward and you ride the wave, and it's going to carry you back to shore. And that's basically what our emotions are like.
No, I understand. I understand fully. It's a good philosophical one too, considering the fact I'm like into philosophical stuff as well. It's just like life advice more than anything else. Which this gets me down to my final question. Now I'm gonna back up here. I'm gonna let you have the center stage right here to where the camera is, and I'm gonna ask you on hand.
All right.
What are your goals and dreams? And at best, what is the best advice you can ever give to anybody else? I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna let you have center stage for this.
Alright, well, goals and dreams, obviously, I mentioned before, I'm into voice acting. I really want to get into that. I'm into roleplay stuff and writing and world building especially. I mentioned before that I am writing a roleplay system and fantasy lore, and, you know, maybe one day I'll try monetizing that and putting that out as, like, an official system that people can play and, you know, a world they can experience and all that. I love creating things like that overall. You know, I'm currently trying to learn Japanese and thinking about possibly moving to Japan one day, so that's also on the list there. And the best advice I can give someone, I mean, I think that the best advice I can give someone is to be aware. I think a lot of people have issues that they're struggling with, whether it be depression or anxiety, ADHD, whatever. But being aware of how your brain functions and how you feel, but also how things affect how you feel, is very helpful for that kind of stuff. You know, I like to tell people a lot of the time that no one changes until they want to change. And so it's hard to really explain how it works, but there's just kind of a switch you've got to flip in your brain one day, and really sit down and want to change. You have to stop being comfortable with where you're at. So, you know, a lot of little things contribute to that. Like, you know, if every time you get depressed or act out on anxiety, anger issues, whatever, if you act out on that in a negative way, every time someone tells you that's okay is reinforcing the idea that you don't need to change. They're trying to comfort you, which is, understandable and fine, but it is reinforcing the idea that you don't need to change, and so you get more and more comfortable in that bad place you're in, and you end up stagnant. So I'd say, just be aware of how your mind works, because you're really the only one who can be. Therapists, anyone else, they can take a guess at it, they can give you some medication or something to help mitigate your issues, but it's always going to be up to you at the end of the day to make the change. And that's pretty much all I've got to say on that.
No, I got you. Got your hand. And it's understandable on hand, too, just to be aware of, everything in general. Surrounding-wise, as well as just, how you are around, certain situations on hand. No, it's understandable, really. Really understandable. But, before we call this or anything, guys, does anybody have any questions for Betadesh on hand? Anybody got any questions for him on hand? While you guys are coming up with questions on hand, I do have a question for you. Since you mentioned about voice acting or so, who's your favorite voice actors?
Okay, so favorite voice actors. Well, my inspiration for getting into voice acting was Crispin Freeman. He did Alucard in Hellsing, Itachi in Naruto, Winston in Overwatch. He's got a very, very good voice. He's done quite a lot of things. And so he was my inspiration for getting into it. I actually took an online course with him. I'm also a very big fan of Aaron Dismuke. Some people may know him as Oscar in Ruby. He is Senku in the English dub of Dr. Stone. He's got a very, very unique voice that, I don't know, something about it, when I hear his voice, I'm just, immediately more happy,
No. I got you. And
it's more invested as soon as I hear his voice. And there's a lot of voice actors I really like. J. Michael Tatum, a lot of people obviously love him. Brandon McInnes, his I believe fiance now.
I've always had this one joke that I've always told at one point. Anytime voice acting was brought up, I always had this one joke where basically, if you were in a room and Matt Mercer and Troy Baker walk in, and you close your eyes and one of them talk, would you be able to tell the difference?
Oh man,
that's.
I feel like I might be able to.
Because they got a good tone that matches too well. You could almost assume they were twins. Yeah. With certain voicing acting on hand. But Mama Barrel actually has a question for you. And they want to know,
Alright,
what's one of your favorite memories of when you first met them?
Favorite memories with you? I think there was this one time soon after we met where I joined on you in a world, and you were in a little lolly avatar where you were standing in a barrel that was your avatar at the time, and we were just talking. And then out of nowhere, I saw two heads pop out of the barrel. I didn't realize the whole time we were talking that you had two other lolly people in lolly avatars just sitting in your barrel, and that was just really funny because it was just random and out of nowhere.
Oh boy, good God. I was gonna say, just because of the fact that almost call it you know how with a clown car or so you get so many things in a clown car or so, just imagine a barrel where basically it's so many people pile in for the most part on hand. Does anybody else have any questions for Betadesh on hand if you would like to ask them? I will probably take Jersey 2 Payak's question on hand that asked if you are okay. I think it's because when you were going into the whole philosophical thing on hand, life's like ocean waves and everything, I think they were just wondering if everything's alright or so. But I'm pretty sure they were just...
Oh yeah, no, that's a friend of mine. That's a friend of mine, and yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm just vibing.
Yeah, just vibing. Vibing, have a good time for the most part. I think if I could say on... I will say for the most part, while everybody's coming up with a question, I do have one question to ask you, and that's basically, do during your time with like RPing and VRC and everything or so, what has been like your favorite memories on hand, and like certain ones, or if you had any good memories on hand, like certain RPs in general, that pops in your mind?
Oh man, favorite RP memory, like from VRChat?
Or it could be anywhere else, or
Okay,
so.
no, we can definitely do VRChat. There's just a lot. I remember there was one time where it was in early Menagerie, and I had this whole thing going with my character, where he had before joining the academy, he had secretly been an assassin in his past. And I worked something out with one of the other players where, you know, in his backstory, his character's parents were dead, and we worked something out where basically my character was the reason his parents died. Like, he assassinated them and we didn't really, you know, he didn't know. And so I knew, and so my character was just racked with guilt the whole time, because like he was basically trying to get away from his whole life as an assassin doing work like that. And there was like one night where like something on a mission happened that was rather traumatic for my character, and he's just like kind of breaking down, and he ended up getting very drunk, and one of the other characters just kept pushing, like, what's wrong, you know, talk to me, what's going on, and like my character's like racked with guilt, and he's like, I can't tell you because you would hate me, you know. And so the scene just kept progressing with like a really nice natural tension, and it builds up to this point where like my character finally just kind of snapped and he revealed what he had done. But it was like just an in-the-moment improv voice acting moment that was so fun for me, because of like the way that I played it out and everything, and like in the moment with all the emotion there, I was like forcing myself to cry, and so we just had this like build up of the scene where I was just like, you want to know what I did? Nebula! Griswold! I killed his parents!
Damn.
Yeah, it was just such a fun line delivery to make. And then, like, following it up, like, this person who was trying to push this out of him, she was, like, considered the, like, most shy character, very meek, you know, shy character. And she had, like, the gall to just, like, walk up to him, slap him in the face, you know, me, like, slap me in the face, and just go, you're still my friend. And like that was just such a wonderful scene to play out.
Damn. That's a powerful scene too, to think about, especially for a character to be able just to, you know, stomach down the fact that someone do this, but keep their morals high, you know.
Yeah.
Hard
like,
to say.
Like, I know you're not that person anymore, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it was great. It was just a perfect scene.
But I don't seem to see any other questions on hand. But yeah, Mama Bear, I will say, yeah, when you get a chance, yeah, sure, if you want to update that little avatar on him, especially with a barrel and everything, sure. I say go for it. But I will say, I don't see any other questions on hand, so I will say that will be episode 40 of Shoot the Breeze.